The wrench slips from my greasy fingers at 11:47 p.m., clattering against the concrete floor of my garage like a death rattle. I'm flat on my back under my beaten Ford F-150, and the only thing more worn out than these shock absorbers is my 22-year marriage to Marta. "You're pathetic, Dad!" My daughter Amelia's voice cuts through the thin walls separating the garage from our kitchen. "Mom deserves better than this dump!" I slide out from under the truck, wiping motor oil on my already stained coveralls. Through the kitchen window, I watch my wife pack her overnight bag with the kind of care she used to reserve for our anniversary trips. Except tonight, she's folding black lace lingerie that I haven't seen in 3 years. "Work conference in Chicago," she'd announced at dinner, not meeting my eyes. "Big presentation Monday morning." Funny thing about conferences, they usually don't require stiletto heels and Victoria's Secret push-up bras. My name is Jack Morrison, and I've been fixing broken things for 48 years. Cars, motorcycles, lawnmowers, and apparently marriages that can't be salvaged. I own Morrison's Auto Body on the south side of Millbrook, Michigan, a town where the steel mill closed 15 years ago, and half the storefronts downtown are boarded up with plywood and false hope. Marta works at Pinnacle Creative, a glass-walled advertising agency that moved into the renovated bank building 2 years ago. She's their senior account executive, which means she wears expensive suits and talks to clients about brand synergy and market penetration. The irony of that last phrase isn't lost on me tonight. I walk into the kitchen, boots heavy on the linoleum we've been meaning to replace since Clinton was president. Marta zips her suitcase with the finality of a coffin closing. "Drive safe," I tell her, leaning against the doorframe. Chicago's got rough roads. Her green eyes flash with something that might be guilt or might be annoyance. "I'll manage." "I'm sure you will. You always land on your feet." She hefts her bag and heads for the door. "Don't wait up." After her BMW disappears down Maple Street, I pour 3 fingers of bourbon and sit at our kitchen table. The house feels different when she's gone. Not empty exactly, but relieved. Like it can finally exhale. That's when I remember we share an Apple ID. Her iPad sits on the counter where she left it, probably figuring I'm too much of a technological caveman to know how to use it. I tap the messages icon and watch 22 years of marriage crumble into pixels and lies. "Dale, can't wait to see you tonight. Room 237 at the Riverside Motel." Marta, "Me too. Jack's working late as usual, clueless." Dale, "Poor bastard. When are you going to leave him?" Marta, "Soon. After I figure out the financials. He's got more money hidden than he pretends." I scroll up through weeks of messages. Photos that would make a sailor blush. Plans for secret meetings. Discussions about my boring personality and dead-end business. Dale apparently drives a Tesla and works in tech consulting. He's 37 to my 48, makes twice what I do, and thinks my wife is too good for small-town life. The bourbon burns, but not as much as reading my daughter's name in their conversation. Dale, "What about Amelia?" Marta, "She already hates him. Thinks he's holding me back. She'll understand." I set the iPad down and stare at my reflection in the black kitchen window. The man looking back has graying hair, calloused hands, and the kind of tired eyes that come from working 60-hour weeks to pay for someone else's dreams. But he's not stupid, and he's not going down without a fight. I grab my keys and head for the Riverside Motel. The Riverside Motel squats on Highway 12 like a guilty conscience, its neon sign flickering between vacancy and vayancy in electric pink desperation. I park my truck 3 spaces down from a white Tesla Model S that's cleaner than most people's kitchens. Room 237 glows behind drawn curtains. Shadows move inside, 2 figures becoming one, separating, joining again in a dance I've seen before in my own bedroom, back when my wife still pretended to love me. I could kick down that door, could drag them both out into the parking lot, and let the whole town see what Marta Morrison really does on her business trips. But that would be the old Jack, the one who solved problems with his fists back in high school when I boxed Golden Gloves and thought the world was fair. This Jack is smarter. This Jack understands that revenge is a dish best served cold, with a side of public humiliation. I pop the Tesla's valve stems with my pocket knife, listening to $30,000 of German engineering hiss into the Michigan night. Then I pull off my boxing glove, the right one I keep in my truck for luck, and wedge it under the windshield wiper. Let Dale explain that to his wife. The drive home takes 15 minutes. I spend it planning my next move while classic rock plays on the radio. Johnny Cash sings about burning rings of fire, and I wonder if he ever caught his woman cheating at a roadside motel. Marta's BMW sits in our driveway when I pull up, which means either her conference ended early or Dale's deflated tires put a damper on their romantic evening. I find her in the kitchen, still wearing the black dress she'd packed so carefully. "How was Chicago?" I ask, hanging my keys on the hook by the door. "Exhausting." She doesn't look at me. "The presentation ran long." I bet it did. Those corporate types really know how to wear a person out. Now she looks at me, her eyes narrowing. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just making conversation with my wife. I open the refrigerator and grab a beer. Funny thing happened tonight. Mrs. Gladys called around 10, said she saw some guy having car trouble at the Riverside Motel. Flat tires on a fancy white car. Real shame. Marta's face goes pale under her makeup. I wouldn't know anything about that. Course not. You were in Chicago, presenting to clients. I pop the beer and take a long drink. Must have been some presentation to get you all worked up like that. I'm going to bed. Sweet dreams, honey. Hope you don't have any nightmares about rough roads. She stops at the kitchen doorway, her hand gripping the frame tight enough to show white knuckles. Jack. Yeah? You're being weird tonight? I smile, and it's not a nice smile. Maybe I'm just tired of being predictable. After she goes upstairs, I sit at the kitchen table and open her iPad again. New messages from Dale, starting an hour ago. Dale. Some psycho slashed my tires. Had to call AAA. Marta. Oh no. Do you think someone saw us? Dale. Whoever it was left a boxing glove on my car. Your husband box? Marta. He used to, long time ago. Dale. We need to be more careful. Marta. Or less careful. I'm tired of sneaking around. I screenshot everything and email it to myself, then delete the sent message from her account. Technology isn't rocket science when you're motivated. My phone buzzes with a text from Frank Kowalski, who owns the boxing gym downtown and the Rusty Anchor bar next door. Frank taught me everything I know about fighting, and more importantly, everything I know about when not to fight. Frank, heard your wife's been making new friends. You okay? Small towns are like that. Secrets spread faster than gossip, and gossip spreads faster than wildfire. Me, never better. Buy you a beer tomorrow? Frank, your money's no good at my place, but your company's always welcome. I turn off the lights and head upstairs. Marta pretends to be asleep, but her breathing's too shallow and her body's too tense. I lie down beside her and stare at the ceiling, listening to the house settle around us. 22 years of marriage, and it's come to this. Two strangers sharing a bed, sharing lies, sharing nothing that matters. But I'm not the one who broke our vows. I'm just the one who's going to make sure everyone knows who did. Sunday morning arrives with the kind of gray sky that makes Michigan winters feel eternal. Marta's already gone when I wake up, probably to yoga class with her friend Tina Walsh, though I'm starting to wonder what they really do during those 2-hour sessions. I make coffee and check the iPad. More messages from Dale, including photos of his repaired Tesla and a close-up of my boxing glove. Dale. Had the glove checked for prints? Clean. Marta. Jack's not that smart. Dale. Smart enough to know where we were last night. Marta. He suspects, but he can't prove anything. Dale. Maybe it's time to force the issue. Tell him you want a divorce. Marta. Not yet. I need to figure out his finances first. He claims the shop barely breaks even, but I know he's hiding money. She's right, of course. I've got 4 savings accounts she doesn't know about, plus a safety deposit box with $20,000 in cash. Growing up poor teaches you to prepare for disaster, and apparently I married mine. My son Ross calls while I'm reading their plans to destroy my life. Hey, Dad, Mom said you two had a fight last night. Your mother and I had a conversation. She might have interpreted it as a fight. Ross laughs. He's 22, works construction, and inherited my bullshit detector along with my brown eyes. What did you do? Why do you assume I did something? Because mom's been acting weird for months, and you've been pretending not to notice. But you notice everything. Smart kid. Come by the shop tomorrow. I might need some help with a project. What kind of project? The kind that requires discretion and a good sense of humor. After Ross hangs up, I drive to the Rusty Anchor. Frank's behind the bar, polishing glasses with the methodical precision of a man who's been serving drinks for 30 years. The place smells like stale beer and broken dreams, which makes it perfect for my current mood. You look like hell, Frank says, sliding a bourbon across the scarred wooden bar. Feel worse. I take a sip and let the liquor burn away some of the anger. How long have you known? About Marta? Couple weeks. Tina Walsh can't keep her mouth shut when she's had a few drinks. Apparently your wife's been bragging about her new boyfriend. Bragging. Said he's going to take her away from all this. Frank gestures around the bar with its mismatched chairs and faded beer signs. Guess small-town life isn't good enough for her anymore. I drain the bourbon and signal for another. What would you do, Frank, if it was your wife? Frank's been married to the same woman for 35 years. They fight like cats and dogs, but they'd die for each other. Depends. You still love her? I love who she used to be. The woman she is now? I shrug. That woman's a stranger. Then you got two choices. Fight for the stranger or fight against her. What's the difference? Fighting for her means couples therapy and second chances. Fighting against her means making sure she regrets ever crossing you. Frank leans across the bar, his voice dropping to a whisper. Which Jack Morrison am I talking to? I think about Marta packing lingerie for another man. About her calling me clueless. About her planning to take half of everything I've worked for while she's been screwing around with a guy who drives a car worth more than most people's houses. The one who's tired of being the good guy. Frank grins, and it's the same expression he wore when he taught me to throw a right cross that could drop a man twice my size. Now we're talking. The bar door opens, letting in cold air and Dale Hoffman. He's exactly what I expected. Tall, lean, wearing a leather jacket that probably cost more than I make in a month. His hair's styled with the kind of precision that requires professional maintenance, and his shoes are Italian leather. He doesn't recognize me, which gives me the advantage. Bourbon neat, he tells Frank, sliding onto a bar stool 3 seats down from mine. Coming up. Frank pours the drink and slides it over. You're not from around here. Chicago. Just visiting a friend. Dale's voice has that smooth confidence that comes from never doubting you're the smartest person in the room. Nice friend to have, I say, not looking at him directly. Someone worth driving all the way out here for. Dale glances at me, taking in my work clothes and calloused hands. Very worth it. Married friend? Excuse me? I turn to face him, letting him see my eyes for the first time. I asked if your friend is married. Simple question. Something in my tone makes him straighten up. I don't see how that's your business. Probably not. I drain my bourbon and stand up. But then again, I make a lot of things my business that probably aren't. I walk past him toward the door, then stop and turn back. Nice car, by the way. Tesla, right? Hope you don't have any more tire trouble. The color drains from his face as he realizes who I am. I tip my hat to Frank and walk out into the gray afternoon, feeling better than I have in weeks. Round 1 to the small-town mechanic. Monday morning brings fresh snow and fresh inspiration. I'm at Morrison's Auto Body by 6 a.m., going through the motions of running a business while plotting the destruction of my marriage. My assistant Tommy Brennan arrives at 7 with coffee and the kind of hangover that makes him squint at fluorescent lights. You're here early, he says, hanging his coat on a hook made from a bent crowbar. Couldn't sleep. Wife's been keeping me up nights. Tommy's 28 and single, which means he thinks all marital problems can be solved with beer and strip clubs. Want to talk about it? Nope. Want to learn about social media? He stares at me like I just asked him to explain quantum physics. You hate social media. You said Facebook was for people who peaked in high school. I'm evolving. I pull out Marta's iPad and show him her Instagram account. She's got 3,000 followers and posts daily photos of her authentic small-town life. Pictures of her morning latte, her yoga poses, her girls' nights out with Tina and their crew of wannabe influencers. What she doesn't post are pictures of Dale. I need you to teach me how this works, I tell Tommy. All of it. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever else these people use to lie about their lives. Tommy grins. This is about your wife, isn't it? This is about truth in advertising. By lunch, I've created accounts on every major platform. My profile picture is a shot of me in my garage, wrench in hand, looking like the kind of man who fixes things that are broken. My bio reads, married 22 years, small business owner, believer in honesty and hard work. I start following Marta's friends, her coworkers, her yoga instructor, and everyone else in her carefully curated social circle. Most of them follow me back within hours, probably curious about what Marta's husband is doing online. That evening, I post my first photo, a picture of our wedding day 22 years ago. Marta in white lace, me in a rented tux, both of us young and stupid enough to believe in forever. The caption reads, throwback to when marriage meant something. Zeshir's blessed, not just commitment. Small town values. Within an hour, it has 50 likes and a dozen comments. Tina Walsh writes, "You two are relationship goals." I reply, "We certainly are something." Marta finds me in the garage that night, her face flushed with anger. "What are you doing on social media?" "Connecting with friends, sharing memories. Isn't that what it's for?" "You're embarrassing me." "How? By posting pictures of our wedding?" She can't answer that without admitting the truth, that she's embarrassed to be married to me. Instead, she crosses her arms and glares. "Just don't post anything else about us, okay?" "Why? What are you afraid people will see?" "I'm not afraid of anything. I just value our privacy." I laugh, and it's not a pleasant sound. Privacy, right. Like those private yoga sessions with Tina. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just making conversation with my wife. She storms out, but not before I see the fear in her eyes. She knows I know, but she doesn't know how much I know. In poker, that's called having the nuts. Tuesday brings a new development. Ross stops by the shop during his lunch break, carrying a manila folder thick with papers. "You said you needed help with a project," he says, setting the folder on my desk. "What's this?" Background check on Dale Hoffman. Turns out he's not as clean as he pretends. I open the folder and whistle low. Dale's married, has been for 8 years. His wife Linda is a pediatric nurse in Chicago. They've got 2 kids, ages 6 and 4. He's also got a history of workplace harassment complaints and a DUI from 2019 that he managed to keep quiet. "How did you get all this?" Ross shrugs. "I know people who know people. Construction workers hear everything." "What else?" "He's been doing this for years. Serial cheater, always goes after married women because he thinks they're less likely to cause trouble." I study the photos of Dale's family, his wife smiling at a hospital charity event, his kids building sandcastles on a Lake Michigan beach. They look happy. They look like they don't know their husband and father is a predator. "There's more," Ross says. He's been telling people around town that he's going to rescue Mom from her boring life. Says she deserves better than a grease monkey who will never amount to anything. The folder contains screenshots of Dale's own social media posts, including photos of expensive restaurants and hotels that I recognize from Marta's work trips. He's been documenting their affair without using her name, posting cryptic messages about showing a special lady what real success looks like. "What do you want to do with this?" Ross asks. I close the folder and look at my son, a good kid who's trying to help his father navigate the worst betrayal of his life. I want to show them what real consequences look like. That night, I create a fake email account and send Linda Hoffman a simple message. "Your husband is having an affair with a married woman in Millbrook, Michigan. I thought you should know." I attach the photos of Dale and Marta at the Riverside Motel, taken from her own iPad messages. Then I sit back and wait for the fireworks to begin. Wednesday morning arrives with a phone call that changes everything. I'm drinking coffee and reading Dale's panicked text messages to Marta when my phone rings. Unknown Chicago number. "Is this Jack Morrison?" The voice is female, tired and angry. Speaking. This is Linda Hoffman, Dale's wife. We need to talk. An hour later, Linda Hoffman sits across from me at the Rusty Anchor, looking like a woman who's had her world turned upside down. She's pretty in the way that nurses often are, competent, caring, with tired eyes that have seen too much pain. Her wedding ring catches the light from the bar's neon signs. He's done this before, she says without preamble. I suspected, but I could never prove it. Frank sets a cup of coffee in front of her and retreats to the other end of the bar, giving us privacy. The morning crowd is thin, just a few retirees nursing beers and watching ESPN. I'm sorry, I tell her, and I mean it. I know how much this hurts. Do you? Are you planning to divorce your wife? The question catches me off guard. I haven't decided yet. I have. I filed papers yesterday morning, right after I got your email. She pulls out her phone and shows me a photo. Dale's Tesla in her driveway, with the windshield smashed and the word cheater spray painted across the hood. I also took care of his car. Jesus. He had it coming. But that's not why I'm here. She leans forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. I want to destroy him completely. Not just the divorce. I want him ruined. Professionally, socially, financially, everything. That's a dangerous game. So is sleeping with other men's wives, while your own children think you're a hero. Her eyes are hard now, filled with the kind of rage that comes from years of swallowed pride and ignored suspicions. I know things about Dale that could end his career. Client information he's shared with me, illegal shortcuts he's taken, bribes he's accepted. But I need leverage to make sure he doesn't fight the divorce or try to take my kids. What kind of leverage? The kind that comes from publicly humiliating him and your wife at the same time. I study Linda Hoffman's face, looking for signs of instability or desperation. Instead, I see the same cold calculation that I've been feeling for the past week. She's not crazy. She's just done being the victim. What did you have in mind? She pulls a tablet from her purse and shows me a Facebook event page. Millbrook Winter Festival this Saturday. Your wife posted about attending with her friends. Dale will be there too. He's driving up Friday night. So we're going to give the whole town a show they'll never forget. The plan she outlines is brilliant in its simplicity. Linda will confront Dale publicly at the festival, armed with printed copies of his text messages and photos of his affairs. Not just with Marta, but with 3 other women over the past 5 years. She's been collecting evidence like a prosecutor building a case. What do you need from me? I ask. Just be there with a camera, and maybe bring some friends who can make sure Dale doesn't run away before I'm finished with him. I think about Frank and the guys from the boxing gym, all of whom have been asking if I need help dealing with my situation. I can arrange that. Good. Because after I'm done with Dale, it'll be your wife's turn. That afternoon, I post another throwback photo on social media. This one from our 10th anniversary, taken at the same restaurant where Marta now meets Dale for their romantic dinners. The caption reads, 10 years in, still believing in forever. Some promises are worth keeping. Marriage, loyalty, small town values. The comments pour in from friends and neighbors, all praising our strong marriage and commitment to each other. Tina Walsh writes, "You two are so lucky to have found each other." I reply, "Luck has nothing to do with it. It's all about choice." Marta confronts me that evening, her face pale with anger. "You need to stop posting about us." "Why? Don't you like people thinking we're happily married?" "That's not the point." "Then what is the point, Marta? Help me understand." She opens her mouth to answer, then closes it again. How can she explain that she's embarrassed by her husband's public displays of affection when she's been privately planning to leave him for another man? Just stop, please. I'll think about it. Thursday brings news that Dale has checked into the Riverside Motel again, apparently unable to stay away from Millbrook, despite his wife's discovery of the affair. Marta tells me she's working late, but her iPad shows she's really meeting him for what their messages call crisis management. I drive to the motel and park where I can watch room 237. Through the thin curtains, I see them arguing. Dale gestures wildly while Marta sits on the bed, her head in her hands. Their fairy tale romance is turning into a nightmare, and they're both starting to realize it. My phone buzzes with a text from Linda. "Ready for tomorrow?" I type back, more than ready. Friday afternoon, I close the shop early and head home to prepare. Marta's already gone, supposedly to help set up for the festival, but really to spend the evening with Dale before their world comes crashing down. I shower, shave, and put on my best jeans and the flannel shirt Marta bought me for Christmas 3 years ago, back when she still pretended to care about my preferences. Then I drive to the boxing gym to collect my backup. Frank's there with 5 other guys, all of whom have known me for years, and all of whom are pissed off about what Marta's been doing behind my back. They're not looking for violence, just insurance that Dale won't be able to run away before facing the consequences of his actions. You sure about this? Frank asks as we pile into 2 trucks. I'm sure about everything except why I waited this long. The Millbrook Winter Festival is in full swing when we arrive. Main Street is closed to traffic, lined with booths selling hot chocolate, funnel cakes, and handmade crafts. A bluegrass band plays on a temporary stage while families wander between the vendors, their breath visible in the cold air. I spot Marta immediately. She's standing near the face painting booth with Tina and their crew, laughing at something on her phone. She looks beautiful in her designer coat and boots, like a woman who belongs somewhere more sophisticated than a small town festival. Dale is harder to find, but I eventually spot him near the beer tent, trying to blend in with the crowd. He looks nervous, checking his phone every few seconds and glancing around like he expects trouble. He should. Linda Hoffman arrives at exactly 7 p.m., just as we planned. She's dressed simply: jeans, winter coat, determined expression. She carries a large manila envelope and walks through the crowd like a woman with a purpose. I start recording with my phone as she approaches Dale. "Hello, husband." Dale spins around, his face going white when he sees her. "Linda, what are you doing here?" "Thought I'd meet your girlfriend. Is that her?" Linda points at Marta, who's now staring in our direction with growing alarm. The crowd around them starts to notice the tension. Conversations quiet as people sense drama unfolding. "Linda, please, not here." "Why not here? This is where you've been spending your time instead of with your children." She opens the envelope and pulls out a stack of printed photos. "These are for everyone who thinks Dale Hoffman is a decent man." She starts handing out the pictures, screenshots of his text messages, photos of him with various women, copies of the complaints filed against him at work. The crowd takes them eagerly, small-town curiosity overcoming politeness. Marta pushes through the crowd, her face flushed with embarrassment and anger. "What is this?" "This," Linda says, "is truth in advertising." The confrontation that follows is everything I hoped for, and more. Linda systematically destroys Dale's reputation in front of half the town, reading his text messages aloud and showing photos of his affairs. Dale tries to defend himself, but every word makes him look worse. Marta tries to leave, but Frank and his friends have positioned themselves to block the exits. Not threatening, just present. She's trapped in the middle of her own public humiliation. "You told my husband I was too good for small-town life," Linda says to Marta, "but at least small-town people know the difference between right and wrong." The crowd murmurs agreement. These are people who've known Marta for years, who've watched her climb the social ladder and look down on the community that raised her. They're not entirely surprised by her affair, but they're shocked by how callously she's treated her marriage. Tina Walsh tries to defend her friend. "This is none of our business. We should all just—" "Actually," I say, stepping forward, "it is our business. When someone lies to the whole community about who they are, we all have a right to know the truth." I pull out my own phone and start reading from Marta's messages. The ones where she calls me boring and clueless. The ones where she mocks our friends and neighbors. The ones where she plans to take half of everything I own while she's been cheating on me. The crowd's sympathy shifts completely. These are working-class people who understand loyalty and hard work. They have no patience for someone who betrays both. By the time Linda and I are finished, Dale and Marta are standing in the middle of a circle of hostile faces, their affair exposed and their reputations destroyed. Dale tries to leave, but his Tesla won't start. Apparently, someone poured sand in the gas tank while we were talking. "Looks like you're walking home," Frank tells him. "Both of you." The crowd disperses slowly, people clustering in small groups to discuss what they've witnessed. I know that by tomorrow morning, everyone in Millbrook will know the truth about Marta Morrison and her Chicago boyfriend. Marta approaches me as I'm putting away my phone. Her makeup is ruined. Her designer clothes look ridiculous in the harsh light of public scrutiny, and her eyes are filled with something that might be regret or might just be embarrassment at being caught. Jack, save it. I turn to walk away, then stop and look back. Oh, and Marta? I changed the locks. Your stuff is in storage unit 247 on Highway 12. The key's with Tommy at the shop. I leave her standing in the snow, surrounded by the wreckage of the life she threw away. For a man who's already planning his escape to the next town, the next victim, the next affair. Linda Hoffman falls into step beside me as I walk toward my truck. Feel better? Getting there. You? Much better. Dale's going to lose everything in the divorce, and his company fired him an hour ago. Apparently, public humiliation is bad for business. We reach my truck and I turn to face her. What happens now? Now I go home to my kids and start building a better life without a lying, cheating husband. She extends her hand. Thank you, Jack, for the email, for today, for helping me find the courage to fight back. I shake her hand, surprised by how normal it feels to touch another person without anger or resentment. Thank you for showing me that some battles are worth fighting. She gets in her rental car and drives away, leaving me alone in the parking lot with the sound of the festival continuing in the distance. The bluegrass band is playing Will the Circle Be Unbroken, and I can't help but smile at the irony. My phone buzzes with a text from Ross. Saw the video online, you okay? I look back toward Main Street, where the lights of the festival twinkle like stars against the winter sky. Somewhere in that crowd, Marta is probably calling Dale, trying to figure out what to do next. But that's not my problem anymore. Never better, I text back. The circle's finally broken. I climb into my truck and drive home to a house that's truly mine for the first time in years. Tomorrow, I'll start the divorce proceedings. Next week, I'll probably have to deal with lawyers and paperwork and all the messy details of ending a marriage. But tonight, I'm going to sit in my garage, work on my truck, and listen to Johnny Cash sing about redemption and second chances. Some things are worth fixing. Others are just worth walking away from.